recently concluded Intuit QuickBooks Conclave 2013 saw the launch of Intuit's all-new QuickBooks, a cloud-based accounting software for small businesses. While the evening put the spotlight on the much-debated issue of cloud adoption, particularly in small businesses, Bloomberg TV India's Ashwin Raghunath also found time for an engrossing session with Dan Vernikoff and Nikhil Arora to understand the complexities involved in designing solutions for small businesses.
Dan Vernikoff, Nikhil Arora, gentlemen, it's fantastic catching up with you here at the Intuit QuickBooks Conclave 2013. Through the evening, we've been hearing about how QuickBooks is a fantastic product for small businesses, and it's been occurring in my mind, how can a company as big as Intuit align themselves with the mindset of a small or a medium business? How do you manage to be so nimble and agile, yet deliver a product that is aimed for a company that is probably 100th your size? Dan?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The story behind Intuit even being formed is Scott Cook watching his wife Signe pay the bills at the kitchen table. And he watched her getting frustrated with how difficult it was to keep the checkbook balanced. And he got a very small team together. And they started to think about how they could solve that with a PC. And they came up with the original product at Intuit, which is Quicken. And you know, the mindset has stayed the same. You know, as the company's gotten bigger and bigger with more than 8,000 employees, the thought is, you know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And so why not keep getting the company into smaller and smaller teams, despite the fact that it's 8,000 employees? You know, never allow a team to get too big that's working on a problem, because then you find it turns into design by committee, or it turns into consensus-driven product development. And so we have these very small, nimble teams that almost act like startups within a large company, and design our product in a way that's fast, it's iterative, agile, working directly with customers, staying as close to possible with customers, and never losing sight of the fact that, you know, we really should strive ourselves to behave like small businesses. You know, they're the entrepreneurs, they're the people who empower the whole economy, and they work so hard to be fast, aggressive. They have to be incredibly resourceful. And so we try to emulate the exact same thing as our customer base.
You know, I like the words power the economy, because, you know, here in Bloomberg Television India, over the past couple of years, we've consistently believed that India is a country that is running on small and medium enterprises. These are the companies that are likely to power your next decade of growth. How is it working with companies out here? What are the learnings that you're picking up out here? Your view on the Indian markets, Nikhil?
You know, as you know, India is a big growing market, and 26 million small businesses and growing at 8 to 10%. Our vision in India is really to serve 1 in 4 small businesses over the next decade. And when we came into India, we did realize that the market is huge, but we needed to go and discover what the problems small businesses were facing. And what differentiates from other companies is what Dan was referring to, Follow Me Homes, which was what Scott instituted in the company, where we actually go in the environment of a small business and learn, you know, what's the problem they are facing, you know, how are they operating their workflow. And so by learning, being in the environment, we then take that feedback and then come to a product which is more localized. So we look at the global product, but localized to India based on those learnings. So to date, you know, we've done over 1,000 Follow Me Homes, and we have learned essentially that an Indian small business is time poor and capital constrained. And those are the two problems, you know, we're trying to solve through our product, giving them time back and giving them the ability to manage the finances better.
You know, I'd like to draw a quick comparison between small and medium enterprises and small businesses in the United States and here in India. You just told me that, you know, it's a question of time and resources. Are those problems something that are common to businesses in the United States?
They're the exact same. And you know, it's funny, Nikhil and I, we were talking about Follow Me Homes. We did a Follow Me Home today. And you visit a business and you realize just how much is common. I mean, there's different solutions. So the business we visited today was an e-commerce business. And so they need a lot of different types of software to work together, you know, a shopping cart, a shipping solution, and an accounting application. It's no different than an e-commerce solution in the United States, other than there's different providers of all of that different software. But the big problem that this business owner had is I could spend a lot of time just managing all the different orders and doing data entry and duplicative data entry across all these systems, or I can try and grow my business. and I'd much rather spend my time growing my business than doing the drudgery in the back office. And so it's just such a common theme that we see everywhere we go. And about 80% of what they do is identical, and then 20% of it is local. It's very different.
I'd like to dwell a little more on the competitive landscape, but before that, something else caught my attention, which is when it comes to small and medium businesses and them adopting solutions which you're providing to them, how keen are they to adopt these solutions? What's been the absorption rate? What are the challenges that you find with these small companies who are resisting change? What are the excuses that they're giving you?
It's interesting. I find small businesses to be incredibly flexible. They're often the first ones to try really innovative solutions. So the younger companies, the ones that are just forming now, that have almost no pattern that they need to break, they're completely open to thinking about things like the cloud and how software can help them manage their business more effectively. Businesses that are more established, even if they're small, oftentimes have gone into a pattern of being comfortable with whatever they're using, not really knowing that there's necessarily a better way. Sometimes it's harder to convince them to try something new because they don't really know that they have a problem. But the new ones that are being formed at this moment, they think about their business completely different, which is probably giving them an advantage in the future because they're starting with modern tools. They're thinking about how they can save money, how they can spend their time more effectively and grow their business.
Nikhil?
Yeah, from an India perspective, I think as Dan was referring to the Follow Me Homes, what we are finding is that there's a lack of awareness of the benefits. So we did a study with the Ministry of MSME some time back where we're looking at the barriers to technology adoption, specifically to cloud, and we found 3 top barriers. The first one was cost, second one was lack of skilled labor, and third one was lack of awareness and ROI. And what we found was that if we are able to connect with the small business and help them understand the benefits, and benefits being it's affordable, you can get started with very limited cost, it's scalable because as you grow your business you can scale the solution with you, and it's collaborative because cloud lets you collaborate with your accountant, with other employees and so on. So we've seen that inflection point where once they see the benefit and see the affordability, that it's very limited investment and gives them time and that money management tool, they're very proactively adopting the solution. So it's about just getting to them in that moment, helping them understand the benefits, and then I think the solution really gives them the...
Well, and the thing I'd add is that the small businesses as consumers are using, smartphones. They have, they're doing internet banking. They're doing all these things as consumers. And now what we're seeing is they're getting so comfortable with the technology that they want to apply the exact same technology in their business practice. And it's interesting, even in the US, if 3-4 years ago when we were doing studies with accountants and small businesses, there was really a lot of resistance to thinking about an online accounting application, financial management online. And you'd ask the audience, why do you have so much resistance? They'd say security.
Right.
And then you'd say, well, how many of you are using an iPhone or an Android device? And they'd all hold it up, and you'd say, well, how many of you are looking at your bank account there? And they'd say, well, of course I am. I want to check my balance when I'm on the go. And you'd say, well, your data's already in the cloud. And it took a couple years after that before I think the consumer behavior just got completely applied to small business, and it's also interesting to see consumer behavior applied to the enterprise, which is exactly what we see now. People use consumer applications and then they take them into their enterprise environment as well, which is a lot of the ways that Apple's been successful over the last couple of years in the US is bringing it into the corporate environment.
Has there been any kind of cultural, curiously, we're talking about accountancy and a lot of numbers out here. Just tell me, has your technology been altering the nature of the profession itself?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what accountants specifically used to do, they would have a desktop customer of accounting, and that desktop customer would use the product to do something like send an invoice or categorize an expense, and then they'd have to stop, hand a file over to someone else, and start to manually track those transactions and then go back in once the file came back to them clean and start to re-enter those transactions back. And in the middle, all types of mistakes would happen and there'd be all types of problems. Now, the collaboration can happen simultaneously. Both parties can be using the application at the exact same time and working together. Not only that, 3 or 4 of their employees can be using it as well. And so the whole system, it's a single source of truth. There's one source of data and it continues to be updated and edited by the whole organization.
Fantastic. Launching in India, considering you're looking at small and medium businesses, the world is your oyster practically. Every country has this. Take me through how you identify newer markets. What's the kind of groundwork you do before you approach a newer market?
Yeah, a lot of what we do is experiments. And so what we did when we first started working on QuickBooks Online and thinking about taking it global was we released it in every country. So it's right now in about 130 countries with paying customers. But we started to observe where it was getting more rapid adoption. And we started to think, well, there's probably a reason. There's more openness to thinking about this as a solution. Now, in the case of India, we had that at the same time that we also already have 800 employees who are highly motivated to see a successful product launched in India that are located in an office in Bangalore and down here in Delhi, or up here in Delhi. And so, a lot of what we did was we, kind of brought those two things together and thought we have a really engaged workforce that wants to see a successful local product. We're already seeing consumer demand in this market naturally without us even marketing it, and we just connected them and started to formalize that learning. And that's a lot of what we do. We experiment in markets and see what's going to happen before we make a major investment. In this case, now we're ready to make the major investment.
I'm going to take the word you said, follow me home. Is that the phrase you used where you're tracking a customer and going to where he's working at? What are Indian customers demanding?
So, if I go back to, many follow me homes, and there's one example I'll give you, there's a follow me home I did in Mumbai. And, when I walked through this customer, it was like literally a slum area. And when I was walking through to his office, I was wondering whether I'm coming to the right customer, or, are we understanding the customer correctly? And when I walked into his office, 200 square foot office, and the customer had every possible gadget which exists, whether it's an iPhone, iPad, latest technology. And one of the perceptions we had was that, hey, technology only is limited to maybe the tier 1 cities or maybe the more progressive customers. And we recognize that's not the case. They all understand technology. It's just building that bridge for them to understand the benefit of what it can do for their business, and giving them, going back to the time piece.
Nikhil, I just wanted to help me understand as to what are the challenges that you see in the Indian landscape out here, and what are the strengths that QuickBooks is bringing along to help you, break through the competition and establish yourself out here?
So, from challenges point of view, I think there is a mindset, small businesses have because they're used to a way of operating their business. So part of it for us is to just connect with them at an emotional and a psychological level. A lot of them understand the functional benefits, but their question is that, hey, I'm a small business. Would you stay with me in the journey? And I think that differentiates us from other companies because, we are very connected and we are almost getting feedback real time for our customers and taking that back into the product. The second challenge is, I think, infrastructure challenge. As broadband connectivity increases, I think the adoption of cloud will increase. But what we're finding is the small businesses are finding innovative ways. They're using mobile technology now. They're using data cards to kind of get on cloud. So, that's kind of one of the ways it's getting overcome. And from our value proposition, I think what differentiates us from the market is our customer connect today. We don't rely on kind of secondary research. We don't rely on kind of a secondary channel. We own our own channel. So we talk to our customers on a daily basis. We take the feedback on a daily basis. And also, we put a lot of importance on customer care, which is kind of post-sales process. So those are the needle movers for a small business because most of them are used to kind of just being sold a product and the vendor disappears. And I think we are establishing that trust with them.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd add there too is that, we take a consumer mindset to building small business software. And so if you think about why people promote a specific solution they use, there's a little bit of a science behind it. The first thing is it's got to solve a problem. You're buying this product because you have some problem you want. But the second thing that drives promotion of a product is that it's easy to get started and it's easy to use. And then the third is that it actually delights you. It surprises you in some way. And those three things really drive whether or not a customer becomes, fanatical about, a solution and starts to recommend it to other people. Now, if you look at the traditional market for software in the mid-market, small business to mid-market type customer, the solving a problem has been where everybody's focused, but they haven't focused on ease and they haven't focused on delight. And when we think about this redesign of the product, it's an incredibly engaging product. From the moment you start using it, it starts telling you things about your business that you don't really know until you start to get your data into something. It spits out insights, but it does it in a kind of in a fun way, an easy way to use. And I think that's going to be something that's very different. It's something that engages the small business. It's not something that the small business is required to use because their accountant is telling them you have to use this solution. This is one where the small business is in control and will have a complete picture about how their business is doing real time from anywhere they are.
I like the word fanatical delight that you spoke about. And I'm going to connect it to mobility. I mean, you had cloud about 2009, 2010. Cloud was becoming big. You never expected mobile phones to come into the playground and change alter the game completely. I want you to put on your visionary hats and tell me, is there something else that you're anticipating to change this game all over again? Because we feel that cloud should have stayed on for a little longer time before mobile phones came in, because it's too big, mountains coming too fast for you to understand where really things are going to go. Is there something around the corner that we still haven't seen?
Yeah, well, I think the cloud, it really enables access to the same source of data, whether you're on a web browser or a mobile solution, whether that's a mobile browser or a native solution, and more it's turning into native solutions. What's fascinating to watch now is you take something like QuickBooks, where you have all of these great insights, and it's typically been back office insights that help you understand things like cash flow, but it's also all this data about your customer. And so now you think to yourself, if I'm in the field and I have a smartphone or if I have a tablet and I have all this data about my customer, what else can I do? I can do things well beyond accounting. I have a CRM solution. I have every transaction that the customers have ever had with me. I have notes about them. I have pictures. I have all types of multimedia about them. I have notes from other employees who have engaged with them. It's a terminal that I can make electronic payments on. It's everything you'd ever need to service a customer in the field and do it in a way that's integrated back into your back office as well. So mobile's letting us solve all types of different problems that we've never been able to solve before because we've been stuck with our product in a back office environment.
I presume you drink your own champagne. How has using your own software changed the way you do business yourself?
Our own software? Yeah. That's one of the big challenges actually for us is, it's hard to be a small business owner and be the general manager of a QuickBooks group. My boss, our CEO, would probably be upset with me if I hung a shingle and started doing that at night. So one of the things that I always do though is play with our product obsessively. And actually the accountants know more about our product than sometimes a lot of our product managers. So we bring them into the kitchen in how we should design the product. Those guys spend 40, 60 hours a week playing with our software. So they have more insights than we can ever imagine. So, a lot of people don't hang out with accountants all that much. It's not the typical thing.
You don't think the ground floor when all the fun happens upstairs.
Yeah, you don't think it's the life of the party.
The usual Dilbert style.
I'll tell you, accountants are one, very funny and they see lots of different things, but two, they're incredibly insightful about what problems small businesses have, and they are more than just the person who runs the numbers for a small business. They turn out to be advisors and really help small businesses succeed. So, I listen to anything an accountant's going to say.
This goes right back into changing the profession.
Let me just add that, so I was a small business, I used to run a small business in India. And one of the problems I used to encounter was just getting all this data and getting a view of my finances. And I used to spend hours with my accountant then. And why does it take 4 Saturdays to get this thing done? Yeah. And by using this product, and I wasn't part of Intuit family then, we used this product, and my accountant was actually able to learn things about financial management through the product, which was very, educational for him because he had just one view of accounting. This was business management. And, for me as a business owner then, it gave me 4 Saturdays back, which was great for my family.
I'd like to close this with a question, and I'd really want you to answer it from the perspective of how you manage this problem yourself, which is setting a fantastic example to everybody else as to this is how we manage it. And that's the question of really data protection and security. Good news seldom makes the news. It's always the bad news that makes the news. So you have, Amazon Web Services going down. You have like a huge question mark coming over cloud services, and you're often trying to talk to, peers around there and say, hang on, it's a small blip. I'm sure there are outages happening every second day. How do you convince your clients as to, that this is the last thing they should be worried about, and how do you tackle the problem yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is making sure you have bank level encryption and security, which is something that we have. I mean, if you think about what Intuit does, we handle, 40 million tax returns. We handle bank aggregation of data in financial software, whether it's consumer or small business. So, you're exactly right. You only hear about the bad news, and we think of it this way, one big event could be the end of our business, and so we kind of treat it that way, and it's incredibly important to us. And the second thing is you sort of prepare for it. And so, we've been building out very large tier 1 data centers in the US that, house all of our secure data at this point. And so, it's one of the fundamental questions of trust that you have with a customer. We think about our customers that it's their data, not ours, and we're just protecting it. And so it's incredibly important for us.
It takes a lifetime to earn that trust, but it can be minutes before you lose it entirely.
That's right.
Gentlemen, fantastic. Lovely to have you chat with us here on Bloomberg Television India, and thank you so much for your time. It has been fantastic spending the evening with you to learn more about the product and really about how the profession itself is changing with software and technology, and I'm really quite excited to see where this will be a decade from now on. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.